Damo.
I'm reading the article here.
Oh, no, Jim.
He's drinking either gin and tonic, vintage champagne, or limoncello. Going to art galleries. He's turned into a proper wanker.
And he has, Jim, hasn't he?
I'm looking at the Herald Sun, right? This is clickbait. And, yeah, proper wanker. Brownless cops grilling over glow up.
That's it.
Proper. I'm not a proper wanker.
We
So
gave
for
it to
me,
you on
Purple,
Saturday. Yeah.
that's the Saturday grilling he copped and deserved.
Yeah. And then you just get to read about it in the Herald Sun 48 hours later.
Brownless hasn't wiped the smile off his face since starting a relationship last October with Crystal Fleur.
This is the bit I like right at the end. I think it's for the better. I've matured. He goes, I'm getting better on air. I've got big words I'm using.
Plus this one, Jim. I love the art. I want a nice Bromley or a Sid Nolan or something like that. Or a Whiteley, Brownless said. Geez, I Googled them really quick, by the way.
Oh, my God. Now, how are you, Purple?
I'm well, thank you, Jim. Yeah. Do you want to go negatively or positively?
Wherever
off
you
the
want to
red
go.
side?
Let's go
I'll leave-
negative.
You take us.
I've
That's
got to take
unusual,
us.
Bill, because you'd like me to come in on a Monday.
Yes. No,
Buoyant.
I'm going the other way.
Well, you're probably
Cats
identifying the
aren't
right
going
area because there's two clubs that are in a bit of bother at the moment.
Well, there's three clubs that haven't won a game this year, Damien.
There are.
So we'll go West Coast, fair enough.
We don't need to go there. I think we just go to one of those clubs, Melbourne Footy Club. And I suppose the wayward ways that have been now, I suppose, across that footy club for some time, it's now being reflected in results of matches. They were good against GWS in the very first game, but then got blown away by North Melbourne in the second, and equally, but probably more damningly, just destroyed, as called by Triple M Footy on Saturday. And you then go a bit deeper, and you suppose you reflect on what happened with the off-season from hell, where Christian Petrarca had been shopping himself around. They had already shopped Clayton Oliver out of the club, and then when he got wind of that, he too explored the market. You've got a situation where there's no CEO to replace Gary Pert, who ultimately had to stand down with his running of the club for a long period of time. And you've got Brad Greenbill in interim capacity. And I'm quite defensive of Brad in how he took over the club at the point of time he did.
Yes.
He's identified Stephen Smith to be the next man, but he won't take over until the end of season. He's got a family holiday booked overseas, which he needs, having retired or stood down from a prominent role as a lawyer. He needs the time away. So while that's happening and while he's been identified, this club is in limbo.
And an interim CEO.
Yeah, which they've been looking for one for some time. This the guy by the name of David Chippendale is part of the possibilities around the long-term role, but he's yet to be appointed that person. And they've opened the market up, but haven't found anyone, Jim. And it's been a long time now without any form of proper, locked-in, permanent leadership that is going on there.
And you need him. The CEO is, it's such an obvious sentence, but it is ridiculously important that you get the right person to do that job. So, it's a worry. And I watched the 2 hours of that game on the weekend. They were horrible. They were horrible, Melbourne.
Midfield, which is quite good. Well, the names are good, aren't they?
The names are good.
The names are good in there.
That's a good point, yeah. And then again, it got them a certain way, didn't it? It got them to the 2021 flag. It then got them into double chances in the next two final series, but they failed to capitalise on those years after the grand final. They then missed last year, and you've now got a lot of disharmony. And again, we always wondered, were we going to buy and embrace this love component to their narrative in the off-season? And it was only ever going to be bought by the outside public if they started winning, and they're yet to do that after three matches.
There's another club that hasn't won a game. Carlton.
Yeah, probably a bigger worry. And you then get to the Thursday night game they've got against Collingwood, and we're going to know.
That's enormous.
Yeah.
That is enormous.
There are just some games in a club's season, and maybe even a couple of players and a few coaching staffs, careers that they just have to win in order for that noise to go away. Losses, obviously, and unexpectedly in the first game to Richmond after a 41-point loss. I thought they were competitive against Hawthorn in their second game. I thought they were competitive against the Bulldogs. But ultimately, they're not playing that modern 2025 style of football, are they, Jim? That's required to just seize the control of play that they do have for periods of a game, but just don't have the system to kick goals.
Well, leg speed's a worry for me. There's a very big lack of that, and connection forward. I know Big Harry's not playing, and we talked about that on Saturday, but they get it inside as much as any team. I think territory-wise, they're in the top 2 or 3 in the comp, so they've got it in the forward half. But they just can't turn that into danger ahead of the ball, and that'll be the thing that Michael Voss, I'm sure, is most worried about.
And not running out games. The 3 games they've lost, last quarters have been poor, haven't they?
When the games have been in the offing. Yeah. And you mentioned Harry McKay, Jim. We don't know yet when he is going to return. We debated and had differing views over the course of Triple M coverage over the weekend as to the personal reason aspect of his absence. But even just to bring it back to footy, even when he was playing, he did play in the first game this year. He did play the back end of last year. They've only won now, as we know, 2 matches of their past 12 against the teams that were third last and second last on last year's ladder. So it's a form line now, which unfortunately for everyone at the club is a damning one, and there's just no confidence attached to what they're about to do. And as you both alluded to, the game against Collingwood on Thursday is as crucial as any they've played for a very long time. We may as well stick, Bill, with those winless teams at the moment. West Coast?
Yes.
Do you want to go there? Yeah.
But we assumed they wouldn't. We didn't think that Melbourne and Carlton would be down there, but you thought West Coast would be there.
Yeah, it's no great surprise, is it? But the fact that they've got to this stage without a win, and I'm really worried about their co-captain in Oscar Allen, who at one stage was tracking to be as good a big man in the comp, and I know that injuries have copped him hard and hit him hard, and he's chosen to go into 2025 with the unknown about his future as to where it would be. There's interest from Hawthorn. There's big interest from Brisbane Lions. I'd imagine there's other clubs also showing significant interest. And I just raise it in the context of a guy who is a co-captain of a footy club struggling, trying to keep Harley Reid and others at the club, trying to entice a Chad Warner into the club, and one who, unfortunately for Oscar yesterday, could not impact in any way, shape or form in that match that he needed to stand up in, and ultimately ended the game down in the back line where he was also quite ordinarily performed.
Yeah, good point.
It's a major worry for them. So just an injury update too. Josh Rachele, officially the club, the Crows today have said it's a 4 to 6 week sidelining for him over the rib damage.
That's got to be broken ribs.
3 broken ribs from the clash yesterday. With there's certain players who you'd rather not cop a knee from, and Tristan Cherry of North Melbourne is one of those players. And it was a footy incident. There's no dispute around that. But as we do sort of go into this phase where the onus is on the damage done to a player, at some stage maybe of our lives, and look, it may be 20 or 30 years away, but at some stage of football commentary, we're going to be looking at that type of incident. Is that allowed, given that it's a knee to the body of someone who's now going to miss 6 weeks potentially of football for something that he had no say in? Or
do we have the football accident?
Well, I'd prefer that, but
we all would.
We've seen we haven't. And I know you mentioned the Rhyan Mansell tribunal hearing, Bill.
Yes.
Yeah, he's going to take that to the tribunal.
Just tease it.
Tease it.
Tease it.
He's already just said it, so let him go.
Yeah, so
I misread his waving arm there. Yeah.
Now said it.
So, well, as we know, the AFL chose not to in the off-season, I think, do what they should have done, and that is suspend Ruben Jimby for his clash on Sam Lawler. And I say that because to do it in the off-season would have sent the message that when round 1 starts and the real stuff starts, don't do it.
Yeah.
But we've seen it happen in each round right up until the weekend where, unfortunately for Rhyan Mansell, he did what you should not be doing when Liam O'Connell was pushed under the ball, concussed, out of the match, and now he's got to go to the tribunal with a 3-match ban hanging over his head. This could have been cleaned up, and I think the message strongly and properly sent in the off-season. It wasn't. We have to now wade through a tribunal hearing after round 3.
Righto. What can you tease us with?
Tease some positivity.
Oh, here we go.
That's a good tease.
I like it.
I'm making
Positivity.
a cup of tea and turning it over.
Damo's positives from round 3 next on the Rush Hour, Triple M. Damien Barrett has stuck around JB's positive soon. He might have one more negative for us.
I've got one more negative, Jim.
What I go on?
Again, I've got a real issue with supporters who boo, but again, I accept that, and some people need to get that out of their systems.
Here comes the booing.
Here comes the booing. Yep.
Yeah. So, I can cop that, but one thing I cannot cop from a supporter group is the Bronx cheer of their own player, as Essendon supporters delivered against Ben McKay in round 3. And I don't care what they want to say. I don't care what they want to say about why they did it and what the context to it was. I just think it's really, really ordinary when you actually go down that path with one of your own who is clearly struggling and is trying to do, as his teammates are trying to do, get themselves out of a pretty ordinary start to the season. So forget the backstory to it. Forget he's taken some big money to be there. He's one of your own. I just don't like it. So
what about the supporters at the 9-minute mark at Optus Stadium yesterday, giving the bird?
I was actually listening to the Triple M coverage where Hamish Brayshaw was encouraging.
I thought
there's something wrong with him.
I wasn't aware of it, Jim, until I heard him talking about it, and then he apparently was on the boundary doing it.
We might have something here.
Come on.
5 seconds to go, Hammer. Are they going to join in? Is Hammer going to create history here at Optus Stadium with the big double.
Here we go.
Here they go.
Look at them.
They're standing up. They're standing up alongside Amish Brayshaw and giving it the two fingers. Take that, my friend.
Hammer, I'm watching you. Get up.
Stand. There he goes.
There are plenty of them out there.
Jim.
I don't know where he's at. I'm not sure where he's at. He's better than that.
Can't you have a word to him?
Yes.
He's got to be better
Isn't he
than that.
smart and clever and a rocket scientist?
Very, all of the above.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got a positive out of that game.
Yep.
Isaiah Dudley.
Yes.
How good a story is that? He got the last spot on the list after training all summer with Freo, and there was, I think there was about 3 players going for the one spot remaining on the list, and he got it. And didn't he have some tricks?
Yeah.
I love everything about that.
Those 2 goals he kicked in quick succession just to establish the Dockers' dominance, which they needed to do because it had been an arm wrestle to that point. So, no, I loved it, Jim.
He's not in the book.
I'm telling you, mate, he just ended up on the list, and
he's not in the Bible.
Yeah, he wouldn't be. He's a bloody.
So he came
just
late in the
typical
SSP,
of
did
the.
he?
He came from Port Lincoln, apparently.
Yeah.
Typical of that Indigenous ability, the poacher's instinct, my brother calls it, and I agree with him. They just know where the sticks are.
Yeah.
I loved watching that.
Looked at home in his very first game. Another guy who managed to get some really good headlines for the right reasons last year, Nick Watson of the Hawks, kicked 7 goals in those 2 finals they played. And just to think about that, it's quite special in the first season. But what he did against GWS on Saturday night in that windy, windswept game down in Launceston was quite extraordinary given where they were at. They were 7 goals down or 6 goals down at one stage, kicking initially against the wind, then not able to use it themselves properly. But he and Will Day helped turn that game around. And then the role he played, Jim, just up the ground a bit and actually bringing the ball inside the 50, not just waiting for it to come in. So we saw apparently what we had, what the scouts had seen of him as a junior footballer for the first time, I think, up the ground with significance in a AFL game.
He got the votes there, 8 votes. But a note to the AFL, the Hobart Stadium must have a roof.
I think they know that, Bill.
No, but after looking at that game, Jim, it was actually a pretty good game considering how windy it was. So, and I think they know that.
Yeah,
so
well, they've actually they honestly cannot say anymore that they're not allowing the team unless that stadium has a roof. So the scheduling of that. And look, you talk about the shortest guy on the ground. Then you go to one of the largest in Lloyd Meek, who's had a really, really good start to 2025 and helping the Hawks to what is a quite extraordinary 4-win, 0-loss start to the season after round 3, Bill.
Exactly right. Yep. He's been outstanding. Tom De Koning, by the way, we must give a mention because Carlton's been poor, but he's been outstanding also there.
Yes.
But Tom Liberatore, what about his game? He's 3 games or 4 games. How many they played?
They've played the 3.
3, yes.
Yeah. And I feel his leadership, which was always been celebrated internally at the Bulldogs, because Marcus Bontempelli had been so durable for his entirety of his career and captain now for, 5 or 6 seasons or thereabouts. I mean, he's even captain Marcus at one stage when he was 20 in that 2016 year when Bob Murphy initially went down and they rotated it and a few other injuries. But he has really stepped up in that space, hasn't he, Bill? And I feel it's taken this club to this quite extraordinary start to the year where they've only lost the one game. It was to Collingwood in a match that they internally felt they should and could have won. So
with players
against
out,
the odds.
very good player. The Bont, as you said, Treloar, Waitman, and of course Jamara.
Yeah.
Some good players out there.
And Jones, until the weekend, hadn't played either, so without their fullback. So he was in. I know you called this, Jim, on the weekend and gave him enough love as the match unfolded, but Matty Rowell's start to the year has been quite extraordinary. And what he did against Melbourne just exposed that footy club for all its flaws in so many ways.
Did I tell you 3 weeks ago, Jim, to back him for the Brownlow? Because he's so fit and he's going to win the Brownlow. I told you that.
Good.
Told me
Noah Anderson as well played very nicely too.
Did.
The 2 of them are bloody rippers.
Bailey Humphrey too, I thought had a really good game. And Took did more than enough in that game.
Humphrey. Is that the haircut?
From Moe.
No.
He got the tats. Moe Bogan.
Who had the worst haircut? Who was that?
Oh, Flanders.
Oh, you're talking about
Flanders.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Terrible.
Yeah. Terrible.
I'm going to stick with the little guys. I know that, again, Nasiah Wanganeen-Millera and Sinclair were prominent in what the Saints did against Richmond, but Jack Higgins just putting together a really nice season, and I think a really nice career for someone who was forced out of his first footy club, Richmond, and went to St Kilda and has, I think, really stood up in some adversity over that
Agreed.
period of time. And he's had a good start to the year. He's kicked the 9 goals to this point, Bill.
Yeah.
3 on the weekend, and just continually provides a spark up in that forward line, which is functioning very nicely. Mitch Owens was really good again on the weekend, and they're just awaiting, aren't they, the return of King, Max King, and hopefully he can come back pretty
Rowan
soon.
Marshall's a star.
Yeah.
He's a good player.
Given he had a really disrupted pre-season as well. He's in that conversation, isn't he? I mean, poor old Max Gawn's under siege at the moment, isn't he? You've mentioned Tom de Koning already. We've mentioned Lloyd Meek, who Brownie reckons is the clear standout, and he got some feedback, didn't he, yesterday from some of his Sunday rub colleagues. I mean, I can see where he's at in that conversation. You've mentioned Marshall, Bill. So Cherry is there as well. Yeah.
So Luke Jackson was very good yesterday too.
And he's the other one. Lloydie put his name out there in that same vein today.
3 players got 8 in that game. Luke Jackson, Sarong and Andy Brayshaw. They got the 8 in coaches' vote. Will Ashcroft, I don't know if you saw that. He was outstanding.
He was.
And McCluggage was also good.
Yeah, I thought McCluggage was great too. I heard Chris Fagan post-match speak that it was a better game even than for someone who's already won a Norm Smith medal.
Yes.
So if he's talking in that vein about...
what about the Cats? They were 30
Ashcroft
points up at half-time in the wet and got beaten. I went to bed. Very happy.
Did you, Fat?
Yeah.
Went to bed.
Well, I didn't get to sleep for another 3 or 4 hours, but
Can you believe it? Can you believe this is what's happened to him, Purple? He's changed. He's turned into a real tool bag.
Proper wanker. Texan was very good on the weekend, by the way, against North Melbourne. North Melbourne are okay. They got within 9 points.
Yeah, but they lost by 36. Bill,
I know you're going to say that.
Goal lost. Yeah, Suvlak is going well.
And Tex was good. Rory Laird.
Look, I love what the Crows are doing. So they added the North win to the big, massive win against Essendon and the equally big, massive win against St Kilda. It's a really lovely form line. They've clearly got past 100 points in every single game. Gold Coast match in Gold Coast on Saturday.
That's match of the round.
It just about is. The Thursday match is really good. The Friday match is really good. And I think that first Saturday game is really good, that being the Crows versus the Suns in that game. Yeah, so Collingwood and Carlton Thursday, Geelong, Melbourne Friday. There's intrigue around both those games. And then the Gold Coast game against Adelaide.
Because the Cats need a win.
Hinge was good.
Yeah, he was.
Hey, how many metres gained?
Fats man Hinge.
Yeah, Hingey. He's a very good player. The Cats need a win, by the way. They're 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And they take on Melbourne. That's going to be a very interesting game there.
Well, they
down
just
at
have
the
to win
Cattery
that,
down there.
Again, 32 points up, as you just mentioned, Bill, on the weekend against last year's Premier. And they retrieved, or nearly retrieved, a 47-point deficit the previous week.
Yeah.
Still fell short.
So the leaderboard of the players so far, some teams have played 4 games, some teams have played 2. Who do you reckon's the best player according to the coaches?
Well, given there's a weighting on this with the team with the 4, will Dade be right up the top of that?
Will Day's about 5th. Jordan Dawson.
Okay.
Very good
games
player.
They played? Adelaide.
3.
Yeah,
so
every
he's got
team's played
20.
3 except
Yeah, right.
Hawthorn with 4. Sorry. The most is 4 with Hawthorn by itself.
There you go.
Yep.
Hinge had 512 metres gained against North Melbourne.
There you go,
most on the ground. So
your man. So you just went with that comment a week too early.
Went a bit early.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
I'm not aware of this backstory, Bill, but
No, I'll tell
No,
you.
but Fat said during the game the week before, Hinge has been good. And at that point, he had 7 possessions and 80 metres gained.
I might have got him mixed up with another player.
But he was bloody good on the weekend.
He was. Anything
All right,
else?
Purple.
Any news? Anything? What else you got here, Damien?
no, that's it, Bill.
You haven't given us a lot. Let's have a look here. Kane Farrell about to sign a 5-year deal.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hang around for your joke today.
Yeah, all right. Hey, Kane Farrell can thank Dan Houston for taking off.
Yes.
So he gets a 5-year deal
They
now.
needed to keep one of their halfback
flanker.
flankers,
Yep, exactly.
Also, hang around for Bragg Artist because I'm in charge,
the
so
joke.
Purple,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm telling you,
Okay.
you will enjoy it.
All right, I will.
And the joke, Damo, yes.
Yes, I will hang around.